Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, or good night, whatever time you happen to be watching this. This is a completely random video, a completely random talk. And these are my early days of YouTube. I think this is probably 35, 36, 37th video. I'm not sure. I'll have to look on the calendar. But anyways, in its rawest form and its most unprofessional form, as in me, I want to be able to make these videos and look back all the way from video one, and not just me, but anybody who wants to look at it and kind of look at the timeline of it. And there's a lot of time-lapse videos out there that are really cool, but this one in particular, I want it to be done for to show how my communication skills are and mannerisms or whatever, lighting, sound, all that, how it goes from its very rawest form and me like taking drinks of a drink, it's like that distracts from the listener. And even stuff like that, using words like or And I really don't use my hands that much when I talk. And some things I do, if I start getting into some serious subjects that I'm really interested in, or something I really like, you'll see my hands start moving around quite a bit. But anyways, the whole a big portion of the point of this is research. Everything I do nowadays, including these past 6 years, has been about research of my own mind, my own psyche, and how I've become to be me presently, and what I need to change, and why I need to change it, and then how I need to change it. And it turns out it's like, dang, it's well, here, let's paint a picture. Let's paint a picture real quick. Earlyhood days, typical traumas, abandonment issues, and things like that. Preteen, of course, even more difficulty, very hateful years. Teenage days, the days of learning how to become addicted to all things, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff. And then learning how to do a labor job, and then doing that for years on end, and being an alcoholic addict, and trying to make the most of it, and being a petty drug dealer just so I didn't have to buy my own stuff. And then fast forward 20, 30 years, psychological crash. Imagine that, psychological and emotional crashes. So many unprocessed deaths in the family where things weren't grieved properly. There's natural grieving processes of the human psyche that must be done properly and processed out. There's so many different kinds of emotions that we experience that must be acknowledged and processed out properly. And I can honestly say, alcohol and drugs and stuff like that pretty much messes that stuff up. It really does. It really does. Then fast forward a little bit more, and then I would say trying to rewire my brain via affirmations, auto-suggestions. I believe in small amounts those can be handy, but to be putting them while you sleep and stuff like that, and the ridiculous ones about being rich and wealthy and affluent and stuff like that, yeah, that's, I don't know, it seems to me there's kind of there's some pros and cons to that kind of thing. And yeah, a lot of our thinking is stemmed out of our subconscious programming. I would say it's a good 95% or 97%, something like that, or better. And a lot of that subconscious programming stemmed out of what we believe as we're growing up in those early days, what we believe, the way we were taught. In psychology, there's our attachment styles, you know, how we attach in relationships and stuff like that. There's that. And I believe, what's that guy's name? Matej Gaber, whatever. He specializes in trauma. He's written several books. I think his latest book was The Myth of Normal. I haven't read it yet, so I can't really talk about it. But I've watched oodles and oodles and oodles of that man's stuff, and I can really resonate with what he's talking about because it makes so much sense. It's like, no shit. That makes a lot of sense. Of course, there's a lot of people on YouTube that I vibe with. And I'm sure there's a lot more on there that I haven't seen, but I've got several chosen ones. They're all about relationships and the dynamics of relationships, family, friends, lovers, whatever. And yeah, there's a lot of ways out there, I think, that really makes things unique. And the more unique it can be is the more troublesome it can be. I think it's better to be more of, I don't want to say normal or regular or common, but to be too unique, I don't know. That's just not fitting. We're made to be pack creatures, community creatures, family creatures. I don't think there is no type of human species out there that's made to be alone. Now, there's a lot of things that can shape their mind or their heart or subconscious, however you want to say it, to where they're pretty introverted and a solitary person. There's a lot of those kind of people. Now, I'm not really saying there's nothing wrong with those kind of people, but they are unique like that. Anyways, that kind of thing seems to be more and more common. I don't know if it's actually real or not, but to me it seems real. So anyways, back to the randomness of this video. This video is, I started making these YouTube videos. I was watching someone, talk about, how they make their 6 figures and 7 figures or whatever with YouTube and stuff like that. And of course, I've watched oodles and oodles and oodles of that stuff. In the past 4 years, I did it real hard and heavy. 3 years, it was just insane worth. And you know what? I can honestly say a lot of that stemmed out of ego. And what I mean by ego is selfishness. And to be thinking of oneself too much, that's selfishness. We're not built that way. The more we do that, the more we suffer. And I don't think anybody's ever completely free of it. And I think it can be kind of like a cold. It happens. You just got to ride it out and take care of it as much as you can, and be glad when it's over. So these videos, my intentions, my mission and purpose. I have my very own personal mission and purpose that I've chosen. And those 2 missions and purpose, that they will never be fulfilled. I can never reach the goal of them. They're never ending. I can do them all my life, and no matter how good I get at them, it'll never be capped out. It'll never be done. And I think those are the kind of missions and purposes I think a person needs to have, for psychological health, especially a man. I think it's more important for a man to have those things in place. I'm not saying that's a cure-all for everything, especially if you've got a lot of dents and dangs of whatever types of emotional disorders or whatever that you've taken on throughout the years. It's not a cure-all for that, but it sure does help a lot. A lot. And I know this by firsthand. I'm 52 years old, and I didn't start living, in my opinion, into my full potential until I was 50 years old. Am I making 6 figures or 7 figures income? No, not yet. I plan to, though, and I will eventually. But no, that's not what I'm going by now. The whole thing is flipped. The whole thing is flipped. My mission and purpose used to be so focused out on outward appearances, money, job, title, accomplishments. And I tell you what, that way, it just kept me too thin-skinned like that. It really did. But it's like the more I walked in it and the more I learned and the more I seen, I would always find these little bitty pieces of the puzzle here and there through all these lessons in the past 6 years. Because 6 years ago, that's when I started living on purpose with intention. Because it was 6 years ago when I fully decided I need to either figure out how to live and commit to living, or commit to die and commit to dying. And it took me a full day and a night to fully decide which one I wanted. Because up until then, I'd spent my life just living back and forth, just anything, everything, just whatever. Not now. And it's taken me a while to get rid of those lifelong habits. And now that I've gotten rid of those lifelong habits, I know the way the human psyche is, there's basically ruts. And it's like, I don't want to get back into those ruts again. So therefore, I got to protect it, and I got to be mindful of it. There's certain people I won't hang out with. I mean, unless the spirit of the universe or the God of my understanding puts it on me real heavy, like to be like, hey, you and so go talk to so-and-so at such and such place. And if it's one of those most sordid places on earth, like where it's like a dope house or something, or where a bunch of alcoholics hang out, active alcoholics, then I will go. But I won't do it just because of whatever, or because so-and-so wants me to, or so-and-so family member wants me to go to such and such party. I will not. Now, that don't mean I won't go where there's some drinking, like a restaurant or maybe even a bar or something like that, just for a little bit, as long as my intentions are right and proper. And as long as I'm not shaky on that day, then yeah, I will. But as for certain mindsets, I believe we literally create our lives. I used to think people were born into things. People had better lives because it was handed to them. No, and hell no. No. The quality of a man's life is governed on the thoughts and the habits he chooses. I'll say it again. The quality of a man's life are governed on his thoughts and the habits that he chooses. You see, once I put more focus into that and really started focusing in on that just a smidge over 2 years ago, matter of fact, it's only been like 26 months into doing the things I do in this certain manner of shaping my mind and doing these little bitty micro habits every day. Some of these habits are just 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, but I do them every day. Some of them morning, midday, and afternoon. Some of them morning, some of them at night. But I do them. And some of those habits, I've been doing them every day for over 6 years. And I can honestly say they are shaping my mind. It's not like making me superhuman or anything, or making me like some kind of Superman or whatever. But I can say that I've got something going on that I've never had in my life, and that is the ability to dream, and to dream on paper, and to flesh out a daydream. What I mean by a daydream, unrealistic projects. Like, say if you was wanting to develop an entire neighborhood that had 50, 80, 100 townhouses in it, multi-million-dollar deal, and all of it went into that. I mean, it does not hurt to get a little education and to start fleshing it out and make like literal phone calls and actually start putting those things together, and actually make phone calls into possible banks that may fund that kind of project and get a bird's eye view on that. That kind of daydreaming on paper is what I'm talking about. That's something I've never had. And it is a great thing. It is a great thing. It is a great thing for any man to have. It's a healthy thing. I think the ability for a man to use his faith in the right and proper ways can be a massive tool in helping him to not be caught up in his animalistic, hedonistic ways of the flesh. And I'll go ahead and stop it right there, because I don't want it sounding like religious and stuff, but it is so true. The better a man can discipline himself, and what I mean by discipline, I mean choosing his habits, choosing to do what he needs to do to keep those habits going and going and going. Just because it's not perfect, keep it going every freaking day. And if you miss a day, make goddamn sure you do it the next day. That's what I'm talking about. There might be some times where you emotionally break down and you got too much on you, where you're grieving the loss of life or a loved one or whatever, plus financial things, plus family problems, plus whatever things. I mean, who knows? You name it. I mean, sometimes when it rains, it pours, and sometimes you may not make it and might not do it. But the next day, make damn sure you do it. That's like I don't really believe in so much as religion, but I believe in talking to the spirit of the universe every day. Every day. And I think that's a big portion how my life has become to where it's at right now. I had a 33-year-old cigarette addiction. You won't see cigarettes in my hands nowadays. And I think I quit in time to where I'm not going to have any lung cancer. I've seen many times where smokers actually quit after they've smoked 30 years or whatever. And guess what? They wind up with bad emphysema or still wind up with lung cancer even though they quit because they didn't quit in time. I'm hoping and praying I quit in time. And multiple decades of drug addiction and alcoholism and those things. I'm free of those things. I'm free of those things. And a lot of that is in portion. At surface level, if you look at it, it looks like it's all on me. It looks like I am fully the master and creator of my own life. But when it comes down to it, yeah, it looks like that on the outside, but like in particular, there's been 2 times in this past few years where it's like my intellect and my emotions just disconnected somehow, and I wasn't functioning, and I was terrified. And the only thing I could do was say, "God help." Or I don't even think it was like that. It was more just, I can't even remember, but God, the spirit of the universe got me through it each time, both of those times. So I can honestly say, if it wouldn't have been for those 2 times, I would not be sitting here right now. And all of that, all of my works, the parts that I did, would not even matter. So I can honestly say it's a co-creation. It's a joint hand-in-hand thing. So anyways, we're coming up on 20 minutes. Just trying to keep it at 15 minutes. Seems like that's best. But I can honestly say it hasn't never gone over 30 minutes yet. Anyways, it is my pleasure. It is my pleasure to make these videos. It is my pleasure to share the raw me. It is my pleasure to share the uncensored, uncut, all the mistakes, all the uhs and ums and non-professional use of hands, all the non-professional lighting, and just being in this little apartment and my non-professional clothes. I mean, it's my pleasure to do this for y'all, because by doing this, it helps me just as well. And I'm hoping it helps some people out there. Anyways, there you go. That's the video for today. Have a good one. See you in the funny papers.